Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to DSP versus the Internet. This is part 3 for episode 22 for July 16th, 2023. We're about to dive into the standard member submissions. And what that means is that anyone who's a standard member of this channel will be able to suggest videos for this show once a week. And those videos will be thrown into a playlist that is played in random shuffle order. So I never know what I'm going to watch. This week we had, I believe, around 50 submissions. And so you never know exactly what you're going to watch. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to watch part of this, but the thing is, I've already watched this video, and it is a 20-minute video. I'm not going to watch 20 minutes of it, but basically, this is a pro player who basically plays Street Fighter 6 at a high level, and a couple weeks ago, they were analyzing some of my gameplay that had been submitted to them, and actually was very positive, and it was really nice. It was refreshing to see someone actually treat me in a very positive way, rather than just being toxic to me because people like to make fun of Dark Side Phil on the internet. In fact, when he approached this from a very rational perspective and a very matter-of-fact perspective, he's like, yeah, you know, Phil's actually good at Street Fighter. So let's watch some of it. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but here we go.
Or DSP from clips like this.
I didn't do anything! I didn't do anything! Are you kidding me?
But what you didn't know is DSP actually was the highest placing American in the 2005 Evolution Fighting Game Championships in Street Fighter 2, placing 4th. In this video, we're going to be reviewing some footage of DSP playing Street Fighter 6, and I'll treat it like I was coaching a client, reviewing the strengths and weaknesses and what they can improve upon. I want to start with the clip that got me the idea for this video. So streamers will say things, it's not just DSP, a bunch of streamers will say things, and it's kind of hard to like check the validity of it, right? So this is a clip of DSP fighting Jamie, he's the Blanca.
I didn't do anything! I didn't do anything! Are you kidding me? I did absolutely nothing, man.
Yeah, so apparently he did absolutely nothing, and he got hit, right? So let's talk about the situation right here. When any character does a drive rush into a button, they're typically plus. So Jamie's actually +1 here. So if Jamie checks with a quick normal, which Jamie did here, it'll counter hit anything that the opposing player does. And as you can see here, it says counter hit, which means that he most likely pressed a button. And if you look down in the comments below, the post-mortem analysis shows that DSP actually did hit a crouching light kick, right? This happens to everyone. People get accidental inputs. It's not just him. And sometimes like you can accidentally hit, you can like fat finger a button. It's happened to me. This game interprets inputs differently than other Street Fighters in the past. And if you're not used to that, you can sometimes get an accidental input. My recommendation for
I've told you, no exaggeration, on this joystick, this is the joystick that I use, okay? There was a match where I just casually placed my hand on the side of the buttons. I literally did not press a single button on my joystick, and the game gave me a drive impact. And I stared at the screen like, what? I didn't even touch a button, and it gave me a drive impact. Do you really think it's the joystick? I mean, come on. It is, there's a million factors. And like I've told you guys, just because the game is reading an input doesn't necessarily mean that's the input you did. There's a million factors. This joystick itself could have an issue. The wire could have an issue. There could be, with the connection to the internet, could read something you didn't do. There's a million factors involved. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of ridiculous that, you know, even people say, oh, every replay now has the inputs recorded. It doesn't matter. Just because the replay says you did something doesn't actually mean you did it. That's bullshit. That's stupidity. You're seriously telling me that every single thing is perfect between you and the internet. There's no factors that could possibly screw up with that input, right? Like, what are you, out of your mind, right? But in that case, you know, in that particular situation, I don't remember. Maybe I did press a light kick, but I didn't. Or maybe I was thinking of buffering the light, like I was going to do it, and I swear I didn't, but my finger grazed it, right? You don't know. You actually have no idea, and there's no way that those inputs can actually prove a damn thing. It's hilarious. I mean, you can see what the game thought you did. It doesn't mean that's necessarily what you were intending, nor what you were trying to do. For example, not that it said it, but, you know, sometimes I'll try to do a particular move where you need 2 button inputs, but the game only gives me 1. Does it mean I only pressed 1 button? Or does it mean that for some reason the 2 didn't read? Now, why didn't it read? Was it the joystick? Was it the internet connection? Who knows, right? But those things are just things that can happen. You know what I'm saying? So, but no. Yeah, I mean, this is me raging because I swear I was in the middle of a match. I was doing good. And all of a sudden I get hit by a giant combo, and I swear to God I wasn't trying to do anything there. I was just trying to defend. But he's explaining basically, yeah, This is a thing with the game, is that you can even fat finger buttons you don't even realize you do, and then you end up getting punished.
If someone that has this situation, do exactly what this guy did. Go look at the replays and check your inputs to see what that is actually happening. Because if you know what's happening, then you can stop it from happening next time.
Why the fuck would I fucking do something? This is fucking bullshit.
The other advice I could give here is DSP queued up
Now
for rank like immediately after.
This.
If you get heated on something, you know, take a quick walk, take a quick breather. This isn't the mindset you want to go into play in there.
He's right.
So DSP is the Marissa player, and Marissa's actually in a pretty good spot here. He has Gal burnt out, and you have almost full drive gauge. So what I would be looking to do is be pretty aggressive. You could throw out a couple DIs too. DI is going to eat anything, and Gal can't really counter because he's burned out, right? Nice. Oh, that good idea on the DI. Didn't react fast enough on the jump.
Can't block it all. Why?
Wait, why are you getting hit?
Exactly. Why am I getting hit?
Dude, I'm done. This is unbelievable.
All right. So let's break this down. So it was going pretty well, and then I think when this DI whiffed, the DI wasn't a bad idea because again, Gal's burn out. He can't really counter outside of like a psychic jump. So all right, he guessed right. You thought he was gonna poke back, sure. All right, so now you're back consistent. You could match DI again. So okay.
Which wouldn't have worked because he would have jumped over it, as you can see right there. I still would have got punished.
You jumped in. You could be a little faster on the reaction here because he tried to trade with a fierce, so you could do like a jab or something. But I recognize it's like heat of the moment. You don't expect him to jump, so can't be a little tricky to react to. But here's where things go downhill, right? Like mashing on wake up in this game is like one of the worst options you can choose. And like it's Gal, he's already in burnout. Like you don't have really a threat. You can just block it out, and then you still have the life lead against him.
Can't block it all. Why?
And then, okay, so after that happened, like, the Gal messed up his combo. But right here, like, this was a you could have cleanly anti-aired. So you could have done, like, a 2H. You could have done Marissa's counter.
He's right.
You had a few different options here. And then you got hit. And I think you just kind of got tilted after this. And
That's probably exactly right. I'm just so upset that the first thing hit me. I swear I didn't do anything. I don't know why it's hitting me. That now I don't react to the next thing. And then the next thing. And then it just kind of steamrolls into me just making a bunch of mistakes because I'm so upset about the first thing that fucked up, and it's just a domino effect.
Downhill. I will say one positive is like you recognize the situation here and you did burn out like that. That's really good. That would catch a lot of people even at high levels, and the guy just had a good read, but you just got to rebound from that quicker.
And I did.
All right, so I picked this replay pretty much at random, and we're gonna go through this whole replay and kind of break it down. So this is DSP playing Blanca versus Entrepreneur as a Ryu player. Keep in mind this is Platinum 3, Platinum 4, so this is like already better than like 90% plus of you guys in the comments. Do have to give credit.
This was way before I was in Diamond yet. This is only like day 14, so this is like 2 weeks in. I hit Diamond right around the end of June, right? Either end of June or right early July. So now everything I'm doing is actually even higher, way higher level than what this is. This is more early gameplay, so.
To DSP for getting this high. All right, that's a good jump. So if you're leading off round start, you want to do something like a little bit more less aggressive, right? Because there's a lot of risks with what you just did here, right? Because like jump could have been anti-aired, and then this hop is pretty slow. I think the hop generally you don't want to like throw in pressure unless like they're looking for like so many other things like Blanca ball, right? So probably what I would have done there was like check with like a crouch medium kick in the lightning or go in the Blanca ball.
What the fuck?
And I don't know why you got hit. It looks like you got counter hit, so let's actually take a look.
Yeah,
so he did crouch lay into crouch sweep. Very weird thing to do. Probably not what you wanted. And if that is what you wanted, you should probably sequence a little bit better just to keep yourself safe against DI. But you're also like doing a sweep that close isn't worth it.
Anytime I'm doing a sweep with Blanca, almost 99% of the time it's an accident. I didn't want to do it. Likely, I wanted to drive impact. I saw the drive impact coming. I wanted to counter my drive impact or counter his with mine, but I didn't hit the fierce. I just hit the roundhouse and it gave me sweep instead. Yep.
Oh my god.
All right, that was a good reversal. He dropped this combo. Good recognition on that.
Why I jump?
Very aggressive.
Why am I jumping?
Nice. I was gonna say like your Blanca. Blanca's strongest tool neutral is just playing lame and throwing out those Blanca balls. Make sure this guy can actually deal with Blanca ball.
No. Yeah. See now I know not to do that. I was doing that constantly. That drive reversal. I was doing that move a million times around the middle to late June, and then when I watched this video around then. See, it's 2 weeks old. When I watched this video, I realized I shouldn't be doing that. When I should be parrying Parrying is much better. That reversal is bad, so it leaves you wide open.
That should have been anti-aired, and doing this reversal move after an anti-air is really risky because if they go for a shimmy, which is probably what this guy was doing, then you just get full punished.
Yep.
Again, this guy missed the punish, but in general, I would not recommend ever drive reversing or
Completely
jumping.
agree. In fact, I would say the only time that's a good drive reversal now is if someone keeps drive rushing you with those green combo, the green moves, and then you want to get them off you. That's like the best time. Jumping, when they're jumping, you never want to do that. You want to be parrying or anti-airing. What was that?
Wait.
Why did I try to throw from that distance?
What the fuck? No!
Oh, I know what happened. So he meant to drive reversal jumping. Again, another reason why you don't want to drive reversal jumpins, because you might get an accidental drive impact like you did right here. And it's like, it's so easy to stop when you just drive impact this guy literally had a second to react to this drive impact.
What the fuck? He was committed to a hit string and he still got the fucking cancel drive impact.
Yeah, that's how
insane.
That's how the game works, right? So as long as you hit the DI with something cancelable, you can always cancel it back, and it actually makes it way easier. So most things that people are going to do at close range are cancelable. That's why like DI at close range is a terrible option.
Yep, he's right. To me, see, this has never really been possible in any game before. If you look at games like Street Fighter 4, there was the focus attack, but the focus attack wasn't cancelable out of another move. You had to be already doing it. In this game, you could be doing things and then immediately cancel the drive impact, and it's tricky as shit when you're playing your game, especially when you're fighting against someone who maybe isn't using it all the time. And then all of a sudden, they throw it out there after something and they bait you, and I get so heated for that. No, I seriously get so fucking heated when I get baited into a drive impact, an easy drive impact like that. It's like, dude, oh. And there's some characters, like their whole game's based around it, that they could do a hit string into drive impact. So they're literally looking for you to think they're open and then drive impact right into it. And it's something totally new. You know, for me, having not played Street Fighter competitively since Street Fighter 4, early Street Fighter 4, it's something that I've had to get better and better at. Even now, I'm a month and a half into the game at, high level diamond stuff, and I'm still falling for it, It sucks, but what are you going to do? The thing is, at higher levels, people aren't doing it all the time. At lower levels, people just throw drive impact out constantly. This was when I was 3-star platinum, so this is a long time ago. Watch just a little bit more, but we're going to move on now.
Nice. See, again, use the Blanca Ball. Blanca Ball is so cheap. Yeah, there you go. That's the combo you want. Not sure about that conversion. I would not.
Yeah, at this point, I was messing around with those balls. I didn't know that ball would go behind him. I thought it was going to land in front of him, and I didn't know the distances yet. Now I know the distances. I know short ball lands in front, medium kick lands right in front of him and makes them block, and then heavy kick makes them go over. Now I know that. I didn't know that at this point.
Recommend doing that because you kind of just put yourself into the corner, right? I don't know if this Ryu is going to anti-air, but like a top level Ryu would anti-air this, and now you're in the corner, and you never want to be in the corner in this game. Yeah, so he anti-airs you because like you put yourself in the corner. Like this drive reversal is killing you.
He's right. That's why if you watch, I almost never drive reversal now. I completely got it out of my game. I'm just parrying constantly because of his advice. So, thumbs up to Diaphone. Like, really, his advice has helped my game in the last couple of weeks since I saw this video. I'm not doing drive reversal like at all anymore. It's just me doing the parrying. Parrying's so much better. All right, we can keep going, but my audience is demanding that we move on, saying that this is boring. They don't want to watch Street Fighter all day. But thank you, Diaphone. I already publicly thanked the Diaphone. Both on Twitter. I actually DM'd him. We had a nice conversation. So he's a good guy, and you should check out his content if you want to learn about Street Fighter 6 at any kind of like an educational level. He does a really good job with these kind of videos. Okay? Cool.
Just as I was about to lose all hope for our teenagers and our future generations, I mean, I've watched a lot of dumb stuff on this channel. It's easy to feel like all hope is lost for our future. But they go and do something so thoughtful, so poignant, and totally redeem themselves. I'm, of course, talking about the new TikTok POV Holocaust challenge. Let's take a quick peek at one and try and absorb the powerful message here.
What the fuck? Why would you do this?
Is it? Oh, okay. Huh.
I feel the same. I don't even know what else to say. Like, you think that's entertainment? To pretend like you're someone who died in the Holocaust? You're a fucking idiot. Do I even need to watch it anymore? Or I'll watch a tiny bit more. Well, what the fuck, man? What's wrong with people?
Bone-chilling stuff. I mean, I can feel like chills, you know, just, oh God. When you feel something, you hear, you see something, and it just you can feel it, it's powerful, you know? I don't know how to explain it, but wow. In case you're unaware of what POV TikToks are, they've become very popular the last several months to a year. Unfortunately, because they're almost all dog shit. For example,
any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours. May God be with you all.
So as the viewer, you're supposed to get transported into this particular POV where they describe in the description what you're witnessing. And normally, like I said, it's terrible, but finally they got it right.
Yeah, they got it right.
This is part 2. POV, the girl who died in the Holocaust, tells us how it happened. Hashtag FYP, POV, viral for you, sound effects, makeup, special effects, heaven, death. Let's take a peek at this one as well. I love stew. Oh no.
What the fuck?
What the hell? What? That's terrible. What? No.
What the fuck? Why is this entertainment of any kind? It's really Schindler's List level, let me tell you.
Leon. Well, if you weren't woke before, you sure are now. And of course, I'm smothered under 13 layers of sarcasm, but here's a little clip of how I really feel. What the fuck are you thinking? If this is not some of the most tone-deaf, clout-chasing bullshit disguised as spreading awareness that you've ever seen, I don't know what to tell you. I imagine this whole thing started because little Susie Smith from the suburbs sat down one day and was like, man, you know what? I've lived a pretty privileged life and haven't really faced a real struggle a single day in my life. Why don't I put on a bunch of makeup that looks like I've been bruised and burned and maybe a tattered flannel and do some POV bullshit about being a Holocaust survivor? That's activism, right? That's spreading awareness, right? That'll get me likes and follows, right? I mean, hey, it worked. These girls are getting written about on CNN, The Insider. They're going viral on TikTok. I mean, they're all over the internet. Checkmate, snowflakes. Now, naturally, of course, one person does something on TikTok and it probably like gained some attention because it got a lot of engagement because...
Well, I don't think we really need to watch any more of this, but I mean, it's heinous, right? It's just, what you're doing is you're trying to get popularity based off of a heinous act, and it's shock value. There's no value to what they're doing. That's not spreading awareness. We have awareness of the Holocaust. Anyone who's educated in the modern era, we know what happened. We know it's real. We know how horrible it was. We don't need to watch a TikTok video about it and you to get likes and views and make money on it because you're a fucking idiot. Okay.
The tale I am about to relate is as old as the world itself.
Really?
It is a tale of hatred, the kind that stems from fear, which in turn takes root from ignorance and foolishness. But it is also the tale of Victor, who recently moved into a charming little country home.
Paranoland? What the fuck is this? I'll give it a shot. I have no idea what this is. It looks creepy to me.
So as to flee the insanity of big city life. However, this does not take into account the chauvinistic tendencies of the locals, who do not perceive his arrival as a favorable omen. But for the time being, Victor knows nothing, and what he doesn't know cannot hurt him. Yet.
What is the animation style? It's like super creepy animation.
While stepping out for a breath of air, Victor attempts to make an initial contact with one of his neighbors. Imagine his surprise as he watched the former return to his cottage without even having the basic courtesy to return his salutations.
Huh.
An isolated case, presumes Victor, who immediately attempts to greet his other neighbor. But once again, he is met with the same reaction of mistrust.
Really?
His heart filled with bitterness, Victor returns to his home, cursing the close-mindedness of the country folk.
How would you move? How would you move into a town like this where you know nothing about the populace, right? Like, for example, if you're gonna buy a home, you have to like talk to a real estate agent or someone who owns the property. You have to have like that kind of level of knowing about where you're moving. How did this guy move into a neighborhood where everyone's weird about newcomers, but he didn't know that, right? Probably because it's fake, right? It's not a real story. It's a creepypasta or whatever.
Over that incident, Victor takes advantage of his morning stroll to visit the village. But he rapidly finds himself on the receiving end of the local tittle-tattle, generally reserved for strangers from the city. Initially surprised to find that his dog had disappeared a few days
They
later,
stole his
Victor
dog.
wonders how he could have freed himself without assistance when suddenly, from over his neighbor's hedge, the distinct resonance of a party kindles his curiosity.
Oh, yeah, they're eating
And
his
there,
dog.
before his eyes, roasting on a spit, rotates the carcass of an animal corresponding exactly to the build of his trusted companion.
Wow.
Victor needn't see any more to fill in the gruesome
Oh, it's a horror
blanks of
story,
the
all right.
Unfortunately, too focused on
That's
thinking
not
up
the
the
kind of
worst
summertime cookout I like to go to.
possible scenarios, his presence is noticed by his neighbor's little girl. Since suspicion is contagious, Victor equips himself with a home security system and a generator, convinced that isolation from the others is a necessity.
You can also
At
tell this is
nightfall.
fake because, you know, where would he have gotten the security system from? If everyone in town doesn't like him, why would they have sold him the system? Wouldn't even the people at the stores be like, nah, we're not going to service this guy or whatever, right? And this is before mail order. Over 15 years ago, you weren't buying that shit off Amazon.
Not too far from there, a desperate villager searches for his son. Disheartened, he approaches his closest neighbor to ask for advice. Despite not actually having seen the boy, the neighbor mentions how the stranger locked himself up into his home after being caught spying. Having agreed on the venture, the two decide to investigate for themselves. But the instant they are detected by the security system, they flee the scene, henceforth convinced that the stranger is plotting a dreadful scheme, perhaps even being the
So
one.
they think the newcomer to the town kidnapped their son and is doing something to him in the basement. So the newcomer thinks that they're doing horrible things to him and his family by killing the dog, and they think that he kidnapped one of their sons. So maybe it's just a situation of both sides are kind of paranoid for no reason, and they're both going to do some horrible things to each
responsible
other.
for the disappearance of the boy.
Oh my god.
The next few days are
I'll
steadily
admit,
punctuated with
I'm riveted by the story. There's only, what, a minute and a half left? I actually want to see how this story is going to end. I want to see what's going to happen here.
the repeated ringing of the security system's alarm, the frequency of which increases all the time. Evidently, the system is no longer adequate enough to keep the villagers from snooping around Victor's home. Panicked, he sees no other alternative than to elaborate a plan to guarantee his protection. Proving destiny is indeed a cruel mistress. A chance electrical blackout plunges the entire village into complete darkness. Darkness which the villagers immediately blame the stranger for, assuming a new ordeal he was putting the young boy through required all the electrical power of the area. Inspired by an energy which, in completely different conditions, would have allowed them to create extraordinary things, they convinced themselves to torch the ogre's home.
Wow.
If only Victor had been an actual ogre and not a brilliant inventor, the villagers would not be confronted with what he had in
What
store
the
for them.
hell?
All their hatred towards him pent up in 40 tons of rampaging metallic fury.
Okay.
Unfortunately, if vengeance is a false god, it indeed guides man into blindness, losing sight of what is truly essential.
Wow.
The next morning, an electrician repairing a problem on a major conduit that caused a significant blackout the night before reported seeing a small boy and a dog narrowly skipping out of a nearby forest.
Ah, the kid and the
When
dog ran
interrogated-
away together, basically, causing the whole situation. No one did anything wrong to anybody.
The poor child could bring no further explanation concerning the bizarre devastation of the village of Paranoland.
Wow. So that's a creepypasta, right? That's the example of a creepypasta.
Hey, quick disclaimer.
That wasn't bad. I thought it was actually interesting. That actually, I was kind of riveted by that, like what was going to happen in the story. Out of Bounds, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, really? This is the channel? Don't they go outside of the realm of what the game should do to show you things from like weird perspectives and like, you know, all right, let's watch this.
Educational and entertainment purposes only. There's going to be no tutorial on how to do what you see in this video, and I highly encourage you all to pick up a physical or
All right, let's okay.
experience with the game so far.
Whoa.
Let's get into it. I want to start off by talking about something really fun and interesting. It's the first cutscene you see when you're just about to leave the tutorial island. Link hands over the Master Sword to Zelda, and the whole thing kind of plays out pretty seamlessly. But
But taking the camera out of bounds and showing you what's going on beneath the ground can show you that the Zelda model is already lying in wait, and that her wrists are totally tied to something else completely, giving her a bit of like a sleepwalking or zombie effect to how her arms are positioned. And then she slowly rises into frame, allowing her to be in her scene and grab the sword herself.
That's really
and as
weird.
it turns out, no, we don't go anywhere at all. We're staying in the exact same spot. In fact, for a brief moment while we have Zelda in frame, you can also see that they stored Link underneath the ground as well. And although you've already been seeing it on the screen, I wanted to take an emphasis on the fact that the particle effect of the Master Sword getting transported to Zelda gets stretched out in real time. And so panning the camera really far out can show you just how massive this effect is.
It's interesting because you think, oh, this is like a pre-rendered cutscene. It's not. As you can see, it's live on the fly rendering this, but it's using tricks to do it to save memory. Because if it had to fully render an entirely new scene with Zelda, an entirely new scene with Link, the Switch couldn't even handle it. The Switch is an underpowered console, as much as Nintendo fans don't want to admit it. So instead, they have to basically do these tricks. It's actually her model's under the ground and sucks up, and he gets sucked down, and they're hidden and stuff during the cutscene, right?
And then we had a viewer request where the viewer wanted to know what happens to the Zelda model as it's shown in this scene here, because she rises into the sky, and it kind of cuts off before you can even see what's going on. Well, it's not all that special. The model just sort of disappears and turns into a sprinkle, or fairy dust, or a twinkle, if you will. And it does go quite a bit of a distance before it finally disappears. And then one of the things I really wanted to know about was the Ascension ability, because seeing Link go through the environment in real time and have this effect happen, I'm wondering what exactly happens to the environment itself. And it turns out that the entire environment gets culled out during this time, and Link is trapped inside of a prism that shows that color that shows up behind the effect that you can see here. Only by taking it at certain angles are you even able to tell that it's a cube, which is really interesting.
So he's stuck inside of a cube.
Hey, real quick, I'm on camera for a rare moment to talk about my favorite sponsor.
All right, and we're going to skip your favorite sponsor. Okay.
This tunnel that the game shifts from loading out the above ground area and loading in the underground depth.
Oh, really? So the underground's not loaded? It loads while you're dropping through these tunnels to go into the depths. Yeah, look at that. It does it on the fly, but you just can't see it.
Which is very different from how it works in the areas that are in the sky, because the surface of Hyrule is loaded in at all times. Now granted, whenever I took the camera out to this area before moving there, everything stays in a low level of detail.
Right.
So there may in fact be some sort of loading going on here, despite the fact that it all looks so seamless. Because if I was to go all over the map while on the surface, you would see that all the level of detail just sort of loads in as I move the camera around. And a moment ago, we were talking about the underground depths, and even when you light it up, there's still a darkness that sort of surrounds the area. Granted, you can see a lot better for where you need to go, but if you look straight up, it's pitch black still.
So because you're in a cloud. You're definitely in a cloud, right? You're in some kind of a black cloud that follows you around.
We were able to remove all of the effects that makes this area look so dark.
Now you can see everything.
That, you can see that there is a ceiling to this area with its own set of textures and everything. The underground depths looks a heck of a lot different when you can see everything that the area has to show.
Honestly, it looks better, right? Zora environment spoiler ahead. Oh, yeah.
And another fun little environmental thing that I wanted to show you guys is when you first go underground for the water temple, quote-unquote water temple at least, the first waterfall that you see does have an end to it. If you take the camera out of bounds, you can see that there's a stream of water that's resting on nothing before it becomes a waterfall, which is really funny. But also a fun little fact, when you are traveling underground after you go through that whirlpool, the entire world is still loaded in above the surface. Taking the camera here, we'll show you that very same whirlpool that we were just talking about, which is super impressive. And then speaking of water below the surface, anyone who hasn't seen my Breath of the Wild episode might be surprised about what you're about to see here. The way that the developers made this world was they would push and pull the environment as well as the water. So there's always a constant water layer and always a constant land layer, which means that if you ever take the camera below the surface, you will most likely see the water hiding somewhere underneath, making a secret world of water that I'm sure would be lovely for any aquatic creature.
That's interesting. Oh, there's a whole layer of water that's ever present in the game. That's actually quite fascinating. So what they're doing, they're basically he's showing you the tricks they use to make this game load. How do you have a giant open world game load on the Switch that really shouldn't be able to handle it? And they did every trick, every technical trick possible, basically.
What's going on with these shrines now is that they show you a preview of what's going to be inside the shrine.
I punched
my mic. How do they pull that off? Well, you can't find this environment anywhere on the map. It's likely culled out, but the game uses a projection of this area and then sort of maps it to this geometry that's housed inside these shrines. So taking the camera inside of the shrine itself will break the illusion for you and can kind of show you where the projection starts and ends. And how about when you're inside the shrines? What does it look like when we pan the camera out? Well, it's different from Breath of the Wild, so you end up seeing something entirely different. It's very simplistic out of bounds, and no, you cannot find the overworld map anywhere at this point in time.
It's its
You're
own
basically
instance.
loaded into a separate zone.
Yeah.
But now we're moving on to the title screen of the game.
You could tell it was its own instance when you walked into those temples. Those weren't linked to the overworld or whatever. So
You know that this is not a HUD element, but in fact a fully 3D environment. And by tilting the camera around, you can see floors and other walls that normally you would never ever get to see. I'm trying to get a lighting mod so that I can show you just how much of this environment you can see. This is a bit of an editorial note. If you are hearing this message right now, that means that we did get that lighting mod, and you can see just how much there is to see here. Otherwise, it would be caked in darkness. And now let's start looking inside of models. The first one's not the most
I'm
exciting.
not too excited to look inside of models. Is there anything else? Underground deaths. Here.
This effect is in fact a giant sphere that encapsulates the player. And in fact, that's not the only time that they do this. When they want the lighting to be a little more hazy, this haze effect is like a cylinder shape and just follows Link around wherever
look
he
at that.
walks. And then we got Muktarok here, and there's a lot to talk about with this boss alone.
Really?
Which makes me excited to eventually cover the other bosses in the future. See, with Muktarok, he's just sort of like an Octorok that uses a sludgy construct that's in the shape of a shark. And while he's inside the shark, he's literally inside the shark. It was really difficult to get any footage of this because he's constantly moving, but slowing down the footage here will show you that his model is in fact inside the shark. Now, what
Cool.
about when you destroy the shark and he has to run around without it? Where's the shark go? Well, chances are the character model is called out, but once he summons the shark again, you can see the exact moment in which the shark loads back
That's
in.
neat.
Then once you beat the boss, you get a cutscene that takes you over into this new area with the ancestor. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. The first of which being that, yeah,
It's pretty neat, honestly, to see these games broken down and to see how they use technology to do it. Because you just think a lot of these times, I'm not even kidding, I just thought, oh, it's a pre-rendered cutscene. Literally nothing was pre-rendered. It was all done on the fly by the Switch, right? And they're showing you the technological way that it was pulled off on this console that sadly is underpowered. So that was neat. All right. So guys, thank you. That was part 3 of DSP versus the Internet for July 16th. Hope you're enjoying the show. We still got the second half coming up. So thank you for watching, everyone. And I'll see you in the next part.